Doug.
Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu? Is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Upgrade your laundry routine with a durable and reliable Maytag laundry pair at Lowe's. Like the new Maytag washer and dryer with performance-enhanced stain-fighting power. Designed to cut through serious dirt and grime. And what's great is this laundry pair is in stock and ready for delivery when you need it the most. Don't miss out. Shop Maytag in-store or online today at Lowe's.
Hello, and thank you for listening to The History of World War II podcast. Episode 576, The Axis Africa Corps is Bottled Up. Last time, Operation Supercharge fulfilled its goal of driving the Germans out of the Tobacco Pass, thus making the Mareth Line untenable for the Axis troops along it, who retreated to the new defensive line along the Wadi Akarit. Not that they were safe even there, for C&C Alexander had ordered Patton to send an armored force to threaten it, which did not work, as two panzer divisions, aided by regular dive-bombing attacks, held the Americans in place. This led to arguments and accusations to the point that Eisenhower had to step in. It would have been a consolation had the Allied leaders known that the infighting of the Axis leaders was much worse than theirs, as the vice of the 8th British Army and the 2nd U.S. Corps was closing in on them. General von Arnim said that since supplies were hardly coming to us anymore, that issue alone would force General Messa to pull back from the Wadi line, regardless of what the Allies did or even tried. But Kesselring, ever the optimist, said no, southern Tunisia must be held, if only to keep the airfields that allow us to harass the enemy. To wit, the Comando Supremo, an Italian officer, showing a true grasp of the situation, told Kesselring that he wanted to order von Arnim to hold if possible, but to retreat if necessary. But Kesselring, the C&C South, said, if you do that, you'll put the idea of retreat into the general's head, and he won't fight as hard. Clearly, something had to give. So Kesselring's chief of staff flew to Tunis on March 30th. His visit with von Arnim went even worse than the communiques. The result? General Messa was told to hold southern Tunisia while preparing to retreat, but only his most senior officers could know this. Meanwhile, von Arnim prepared plans to defend the ports of Tunis and Berzetta to the end. Meanwhile, the Allied attack plan of the Wadi Akarit developed in stages, as most plans do. First, an assessment of the terrain was needed. There were small rises along the line, but in the center of the line, there were two jebels, rising about 1,000 feet. Ras Zua was to the left or west, and then to the right or east was Jebel Rumana. The latter was not quite as tall, but between the both of them, they gave the Axis troops a commanding view in all directions. Further, there was an anti-tank ditch between the two heights, another one between Jebel Rumana and the coast road. Thus, it was a well-laid-out defense, and though Patton's attacks had pulled two panzer divisions away from the Wadi area and to himself, the coming attack by Monty's forces was still going to be a tough thing. Like a chessboard, the enemy could see every move the 8th Army made because of those two damn heights. Now, for the attack plan. Monty suggested using one infantry division to create an opening, and then the 30th Corps could pour through. But then patrols were sent out. Word came back. Yeah, you're going to need more than one infantry division attacking. Whereupon General Leese proposed using the 4th Indian and the 51st Highland Divisions to attack both Ras Zua and Jebel Rumana. But the 4th Indian's warfare commander, who had mountain experience, said, "I scouted around as well, and Ras Zua was too large on top for the enemy to hold against a silent night attack, as in his Indians could get to the top and only some of the defenders would know what was going on, thus we would not have to fight them all at the same time." He continued, "Besides, the way the defenses are laid out on top, the enemy clearly expects attacks to come either at them from the sides or from the rear. The Indians would use special patrol boots to climb up the face of Ras Zua, the height on the Allied left, and neutralize what the enemy could do before the main attack got underway." Generals Leese and Monty thought about this proposal, but not for very long. They agreed. The 4th Indian would climb up and spread out over the top of Ras Zua, and the 50th Division would join the Highland Division in their frontal attack. During the night of April 5th, hours before the main attack, the Gurkha and Indian battalions of the 4th Indian's 2 brigades climbed up Ras Zua with knives and bayonets, and they neutralized the enemy spotters and the large gun crews. Ras Zua was cleared as the sun came up. More besides, the Indian soldiers also cleared a path for the vehicles round the western end of the anti-tank ditch. Also, with the rising sun, the 50th and 51st Divisions attacked the western half of the line, supported by intense artillery. The Italian General Messa called it a hurricane of steel and fire. That was thanks to Monty, waiting for the earliest possible moment after supplies had been brought forward. The 51st Division, representing the Allies' right flank, took Jebel Rumana, the eastern height, and then cleared 2 paths through the minefield and anti-tank ditch. The 50th Division, though, was having problems on the left, clearing their own ditch between the 2 heights. But fortunately for them, with the Axis forces to either side of the Italians opposing the 50th giving way, the Italians started surrendering at 9:30 a.m. Seeing his right flank collapsing, General Messa ordered the 15th Panzer Division, held in reserve, to come forward and hit any enemy units that got through between the 2 heights. As for von Arnim, he had expected the results of the morning, so the day before, April 5th, he had Afrika Korps pull back its 80 tanks from El Qatar. It was probably this strangely positive event that Patton did not trust, which led him to believe that the panzers were being pulled for a large attack. Back to April 6th, the day of the Battle of the Wadi Akarit, by 10:30 a.m. that morning, the Afrika Korps tanks were on their way to General Messa from El Qatar to hold onto southern Tunisia. Hey everyone, Ray here. Do you honestly think that you are the only one struggling with ED? Please, you're not. In fact, 40% of men experience ED by the age of 40. But now there's an easier way to fix it, all from your home. No awkward conversations, no doctor's office. Let RexMD, an online telehealth service that helps men get real FDA-approved ED medications, help you regain your confidence. Here's how it works. First, ED meds are not one size fits all, but RexMD has you covered with options. You'll tell them what's going on, your health history, and what you're looking for through a short quiz. Then, a U.S. licensed provider will review your information and prescribe a medication, if appropriate. Your treatment will be sent to you with free 2-day delivery. That's it. It's that easy. And the RexMD team is there for any questions you have. And again, just know you're not alone in this, but some men are taking the bull by the horns. What are you waiting for? These are the good years. Now, make them better. And you can get up to 95% off ED treatment with RexMD. Visit rexmd.com/WW2. This is going to change everything. See full details and usage at rexmd.com. Prescription required. Results may vary. The next part of this battle is strange, and no definitive answer can be given as to why. That 4th Indian subcommander had been bold in his proposed plan and effective in carrying it out. With all due respect, the Italians opposing the 50th Division, seeing their panicked comrades around them, were also bold in their reaction. They started to surrender in large numbers. The point is, the Italians saw and they acted in surrendering. But they would live another day, and wasn't that the point? Von Arnim was also decisive. Hell, he had ordered the panzers at Alcatar to move out the day before battle. No, it was 10th Corps, specifically the 8th Armored Brigade leading the New Zealand Division, that did not move out through the enemy's pierced line until 1:30 p.m., hours after paths had been created through the anti-tank ditches. But why? Again, no straight answer has ever been given. The best guess is someone on the Allied side was overestimating the enemy, even when paths had been made and some Italian units had surrendered. So, why ever it happened, the 8th Armored Brigade did move out at 1:30 p.m. and paid the price for a dilatory advance. Coming around the western end of Jebel Rumana, the eastern ridge, the leading tanks were then hit by shells from 88s. The 15th Panzer did not hesitate to rush forward and set up their anti-tank guns just behind the height. The hesitation of the British continued. Pulling back, it was decided to try again tomorrow, only with the help of the 10th and 30th Corps' artilleries. Again, the British were overestimating the enemy, just in a different way. Meanwhile, on the other side, General Mess's German divisional commanders and his chief of staff reported that, yes, they had stopped the British advance, but they could not hold it up forever. Somewhere along the line, they would get through, and the 1st Italian Army would be lost. Only by pulling the men back now can we save it for the future. Von Arnim, seemingly waiting for everyone else on his side to catch up to him, approved the withdrawal, starting that night of April 6th. Thus, the next day, April 7th, Patton's forces of the 2nd U.S. Corps and the British 8th Army woke up, looked over and across no man's land, and saw nothing, no one. To be sure, there were plenty of mines and demolitions left, with scattered light rearguard forces, but that was it. That was enough for Patton. He practically shouted for Benson to move out. He was to drive to the coast until he either found a fight or took a bath in the Gabes Gulf. This intense push was also shared by the 8th Army. Thus, during the evening at 5 p.m. on April 7th, 8th Army's leading armored car screen, made up of men from the 2nd New Zealand Division, met with Benson's forward patrol from the 1st U.S. Armored and the 1st U.S. Infantry Divisions on the Gaza-Gabes Road south of McNassie and west of Gabes. It had been exactly 5 months to the day after the torch landings. The Americans from the Atlantic and the British from the Eastern Mediterranean had come together. Now the enemy was truly bottled up, though still defiant and able to inflict heavy casualties if prudent care was not taken. As the end seemed near, one may be forgiven for noticing that the enemy, though defeated at the Wadi line, had still, mostly, escaped. Again, to fight another day. Rommel had slipped away a few times before, and now General Messa had done the same, just here. But it was not Monty's fault this time. It was General Alexander's. After all, the CNC's plan all along had been to get through the Gabes Gap, not entrap the 1st Italian Army, even though that was tried near the end of the battle. Also, Patton's forces could have been used earlier, but Alexander did not think they were ready, and he was mostly right. But it was only a matter of time before the Americans had to be pushed off the ledge to motivate them to learn how to fly. As it was, the enemy was now bottled up. The question remained, How much damage did they want to deliver to the Allies before they surrendered? And as for the larger question of corralling the Axis forces versus cutting them in half, i.e. not letting the Gabes Gap be used to escape once again, well, as the saying goes, victory excuses all mistakes, big and small. Still, now was the time to tighten the noose around Messa's neck, and that process had already started. Back on March 25th, when Alexander had changed Patton's orders for the third time and giving Eadie's 9th Division to 2nd Corps, the CNC had also given to Patton General Doc Ryder's 34th U.S. Division. The idea was for Ryder's men to attack the Fond-Duc Pass, the middle or third of the 5 passes along the eastern dorsal mountain range, and then send General Crocker's 9th British Corps through it to hit Messa's retreating flank at the right moment, capturing as many as they could while they could. But the results of what happened were equal parts a military and coordination disaster. First, the CNC, in wanting this done ASAP, which is understandable, put General Crocker in overall command because he had more experience and it would be his force going through the pass. But then Crocker showed his inexperience or impatience by telling General Doc Ryder to attack the pass pretty much head on. Ryder was not happy about this. After all, his force had been pretty much spending its time guarding communications and defending key points that had already been taken. A bit of sleight of hand might have gone a long ways to easing the coming American casualties. So Ryder complained about attacking head-on. Nothing changed. So sent his men in on March 27th. It was a bloody disaster. The Americans were easily repulsed with heavy casualties. Not that Ryder gave up, the fighting went on for 3 days. However, turns out that the Germans they fought had an element of a German penal division, who were told if they fought well, they could return to their own units. Taking this to heart, they took the fight to the Americans, who were simply overwhelmed. Ryder was given another chance, and his men went back in on April 8th. Yet this time, the confusion encompassed Ryder, Crocker, hell, everyone. The Americans closed in on the German line that April 8th and then stopped, awaiting a pre-battle air attack. But there was only silence overhead. The air assault was coming. It was delayed, now back on, rescheduled for later that day, and then canceled. Later that day, though, out of nowhere, from the American perspective, tanks from Crocker's Corps zoomed past the Americans and went into the fight. Were the Americans supposed to be supporting them? Who knew? Which is when their respective commanders, not that they wanted to talked to each other. In the end, the British tanks were pulled back, as obviously confusion reigned. The next day, the Americans tried again, but making some progress, soon their tanks outran their infantry support and were being hit by German anti-tank shells. Again, the attack was called off. The next day, April 9th, the British armor gave it a go and were successful. But by then, it didn't matter. The retreating forces the German unit had been blocking for had already gone past.
Abercrombie Kids knows how to make outfitting easy. Mix and match sets are their ultimate outfit hack for fall. Their sweatshirts and sweatpants are super cozy, and they always have the cutest colors and patterns. Shop fall's easiest outfit at Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
From the several American failures in this endeavor, Ryder could see the writing on the wall. His reputation was about to be ruined, the 34th Division broken up. This harkened back to a few months ago when the British referred to the still-learning American troops as our Italian allies, which got back to American ears. So Ryder complained to Patton and his deputy, Major General Omar Bradley, who, in their turn, complained to Alexander. Omar Bradley wrote of this moment, "There was little indication that Ike cared, so Patton and I undertook to avert what surely would have been the destruction of the division and the professional ruin of Doc Ryder, a valuable tactician." But during this pending political crisis, Alexander needed the attack to continue, so told Crocker to send his 6th Armored Division through the pass and dam the tank losses, which worked on April 8th, but failed at the same time, with only a few Italian stragglers being caught. But then it was about to get worse. No, not for the war in Tunisia, but for Anglo-American relations. With the retreat of General Mess's army into the waiting arms of von Armand's bridgehead, the Axis forces in central northern Tunisia also pulled back. So now the 1st British Army in the north followed them. They were now on the move, as was Monty's 8th Army, pushing up from the south, and they would meet up at the town of Kairouan, just east of the Fonduc Pass. And as Patton's forces had been just below the eastern dorsal, they were now out of position. In other words, the 1st and 8th British armies had just squeezed Patton's 2nd Corps out of the line. One can only wonder, how would Patton react to this? Greetings, everyone, from Central Virginia. So, we're getting near the end. The Americans and the British are having their growing pains working together, but it's working, right? They've got the Axis bottled up. It doesn't hurt that von Arman and company are having trouble getting supplies. I mean, I think it's the British Royal Navy, American Air Power, British Air Power, maybe American submarines, I'm trying to remember, but the point is, war is a total thing. You cut off the other people from getting supplies while you are resupplied, and then you can just bash them in. So again, this is working well. I'm getting to a crossroads where at some point I need to switch back to the Pacific Theater, because after all, you've got waiting there for us the Battle of the Coral Sea, Midway, Marines landing on Guadalcanal. I'm really looking forward to that. So maybe I'll just do taking Sicily and then hop over. I don't know. So I'm still pondering all that. Anyway, so this is going to end soon. I think I've probably got one more episode before Sicily, and we'll just see what happens from there. Anyway, so just thank you for listening. So let's see here. I have a donation from Tim Agnew. Thank you very much, Tim. No other donations, no new members. So for this week, that makes Tim my new best friend. So thank you very much. It's much appreciated. So I think I've got one more episode of Tunisia, and then we'll go from there, because Patton's going to have to drop out to make his plans for invading Sicily. So yeah, and obviously, and I'm sure you all know this, the tension between the Americans and the British, and certainly Monty and Patton, it's not going anywhere. So we'll follow that along as well as we watch the Allies make their plans to take Sicily. Take care, everyone.
Boost your self-care routine this fall with Fresh Time Market's Vitamins and Body Care sale. Take advantage of big savings and enjoy 30% off all wellness items department-wide from Wednesday, October 15th to Tuesday, the 21st. Take better care of you and your wallet with savings on nourishing skincare, immune-boosting supplements, and plant-based protein powder. Stop by your neighborhood Fresh Time Market today, where healthy living is made easy.
Hello, this is Matt from the Explorers Podcast. I want to invite you to join me on the voyages and journeys of the most famous explorers in the history of the world. These are the thrilling and captivating stories of Magellan, Shackleton, Lewis and Clark, and so many other famous and not so famous adventurers from throughout history. Go to explorerspodcast.com or just look us up on your podcast app. That's the Explorers Podcast.